Hello, Quantum Leap callers. Happy Thursday to you. It's Krystal Downey-Shada, and I'm super excited to leave you a message today on this fabulous Thursday. I don't know what the weather is doing where you live, but it is a brilliant, beautiful, sunny, clear day where I'm at here in Idaho. My message for you today is a little bit about listening. And there's so much valuable relationship building in listening. So this is, of course, a topic that applies to life, applies to relationship, and it's super important to know that it applies in our Mary Kay business in a really big way. And so I'm going to talk first about the three different levels or types of listening, and then speak to you about how that can, as I'm sharing that, I'll share how that shows up, what that looks like, and then how it can benefit you, of course, not only in life, but also in your Mary Kay business as you practice listening. I'm currently reading this amazing book, and this is not from the book that I'm reading, but it's an amazing book about being present in life by Mark Nepo called 7,000 Ways to Listen. And it's poetic and beautiful and really about being present in life and all of the different ways that we can fully be present and listening to life. So this is just a little itty-bitty piece of how we can be present in life with each other, and may support in distilling it down and the value that can be in that process. So first level of listening is subjective listening, and it is listener-centered. In other words, me as the listener it's focused on me as the listener. It relates to my experience. It focuses on my agenda and concentrates on what it means to me. That looks like in conversation, your friend shares with you blah, 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 blah about her life experience. And you're like, oh my gosh, me too. I've experienced that too. I thought I was the only one, and blah, 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 blah. And we just keep right on going. And what it's all coming back to is that it's about who? Me, as the listener. So it's relating it to self. Now, sometimes we do that because we want to make a connection with people. But I would offer that there are other ways to make a connection that is not making it about us. So that's level one. Level two listening is objective listening. Now, objective listening focuses on the speaker, relates completely to the speaker, listens to the speaker's agenda, and listens to understand what it means to the speaker. Now, that sounds obviously as a level two listening. Yeah, that's a step up. That's a step forward, if you will, in the listening. What is not spoken to in this is there actual curiosity in it? Are you just neutrally listening and not engaged? Are you just hearing? There may be an emphasis on the talking only. We can obviously, as listeners in this space, be under the guise of curiosity, but really have our own thought processes about where we want this conversation to go. There can be judgment, there can be assumption, may even be some interruption. And so objective listening, though it's a step forward, it's not the full listening. So then we go to level three listening. And level three listening is intuitive listening. So it listens to the whole message, both the verbal and the nonverbal. It listens to, from a space of intuitive listening, we are listening to what is being said and also what is not being said. It requires a building of trust. It listens between the lines. The question that we would be asking is the message that they're speaking consistent with the rest of the message that I'm seeing? In other words, what is the rest of the message that's coming across? The Chinese symbol for listening is made of three characters: ear, eye, and heart. That is a three-level listening symbol. So in order to intuitively listen, we get to become comfortable in uncomfortable silence, in holding the space for people to go where they need to go. We get to listen and come from a space of knowing that they have their own answers. Now, in Mary Kay, oftentimes, especially as directors, we're teaching. And so we have an answer or a solution that may support someone. And it's really important when we're working with our team, when we're working with people in our Mary Kay business, and even our customers, that we can make suggestions. And it's important to ask permission. Are you open for a possibility that I may have for you? Asking that permission to go down that road, to give them information. Sometimes, often, they will have their own answers, and we get to trust that their answers are viable answers for them. So we get to be fully present. We get to know that we don't have their answers. Now, we may have some guidance as far as within the Mary Kay business what would support them, but really in life, we don't have their answers. They do. We get to, instead of directing them to the answer we think they need to have, find the question that is open and directs them to themselves to find their own answer. Intuitive listening is such an awesome practice. And what I realized is that and so if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I do this objective listening all the time. And if you do that, yeah, I'll just offer me too. It's a practice to learn to stay in that intuitive listening. And there are times with girlfriends that it just, goes to that, oh my gosh, me too, isn't that crazy? And we join in and it's fine. But it's important to notice. And it's important to pay attention to how we listen. And a great place to practice, of course, is not only in your Mary Kay business, but also with your family and the people that you come into contact with. How do you listen? Those are great opportunities to practice this. One of the things that I noticed years ago is that when I would sit down to do a sharing appointment, either with someone that I had met at an appointment or my consultants would bring, for practice for themselves so they can learn, their people, they would bring them for us to do a sharing appointment together as part of their training and learning. And I can tell you probably 50% of those sharing appointments that I did, the woman that we were sitting down with to share the Mary Kay business opportunity would have an emotional experience, often tears, and connecting to that. That's not a bad thing, because when we give people permission and space to connect to what matters to them, which, by the way, that's a place from which they can make the decision to be a part of Mary Kay, and it's really powerful and valuable. But when we give space and permission for people to go where they need to go and speak what's true for them, it's an emotional connection that is really beautiful and also in contribution to their life experience, whether they become a part of Mary Kay or not. Because, of course, as human beings, our deepest desire is to be seen and heard. And so in that moment and during that time, they are being seen and heard. So it's truly a gift. And I just shared all of that, and I just want to close this call with a little quote from Tom Riley. I don't know who Tom Riley is, but I came across this and absolutely loved it and felt like it would be valuable to share. So here goes. Your stage may be small. Your part may be minor. Your audience may be few in numbers. Your work may go unnoticed and unappreciated by most people. Your difference may be one person or one thing at a time. But if you serve with humility and embrace your role graciously, you have served well. Humble service happens when we realize we are the instruments of serving and subordinate our egos for a greater good of the object of our service. And that is good enough. Have an amazing Thursday. Hugs to you. Bye-bye.